I want to play a clip for you of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and I really don't have much commentary to add because I think that this clip alone speaks for itself. And basically, to give you the setup, she concisely demonstrates just how fundamentally broken the American political system is. Take a look.
It's already super legal, as we've seen, for me to be a pretty bad guy. So it's even easier for the President of the United States to be one, I would assume.
That's right.
Thank you very much. Let's play a lightning round game. I'm going to be the bad guy, which I'm sure half the room would agree with anyway. And I want to get away with as much bad things as possible, ideally to enrich myself and advance my interest, even if that means putting my interests ahead of the American people. I have enlisted all of you as my co-conspirators, so you're going to help me legally get away with all of this. So, Mrs. Hobart Flynn, I want to run. If I want to run a campaign that is entirely funded by corporate political action committees, is there anything that legally prevents me from doing that?
No.
Okay, so there's nothing stopping me from being entirely funded by corporate PACs, say from the fossil fuel industry, the healthcare industry, big pharma. I'm entirely 100% lobbyist PAC funded. Okay, so let's say I'm a really, really bad guy, and let's say I have some skeletons in my closet that I need to cover up so that I can get elected. Mr. Smith, is it true that you wrote this article, this opinion piece for the Washington Post entitled, "These payments to women were unseemly, that doesn't mean they were illegal"?
Well, I can't see the piece, but I wrote a piece under that headline in the Post, so I assume that's right.
Okay, great. So, green light for hush money. I can do all sorts of terrible things. It's totally legal right now for me to pay people off. And that is considered speech. That money is considered speech. So I use my special interest dark money funded campaign to pay off folks that I need to pay off and get elected. So now I'm elected, now I'm in. I've got the power to draft, lobby, and shape the laws that govern the United States of America. Fabulous. Now, is there any hard limit that I have? Perhaps Mrs. Hobart Flynn, is there any hard limit that I have in terms of what legislation I'm allowed to touch? Are there any limits on the laws that I can write or influence, especially if I'm based on the special interest funds that I accepted to finance my campaign and get me elected in the first place?
There's no limit.
So there's none. So I can be totally funded by oil and gas. I can be totally funded by Big Pharma, come in, write Big Pharma laws, and there's no limits to that whatsoever.
That's right.
Okay, so awesome. Now, Mr. Mirabani, the last thing I want to do is get rich with as little work possible. That's really what I'm trying to do as the bad guy, right? So is there anything preventing me from holding stocks, say, in an oil or gas company, and then writing laws to deregulate that industry and cause, that could potentially cause the stock value to soar and accrue a lot of money in that time?
You could do that.
So I could do that. I could do that now with the way our current laws are set up. Yes?
Yes.
Okay, great. Is it possible that any elements of this story apply to our current government and our current public servants right now?
Yes.
Yes.
So we have a system that is fundamentally broken. We have these influences existing in this body, which means that these influences are here in this committee shaping the questions that are being asked of you all right now. Would you say that that's correct,
Yes.
Mr. Mirabani or Mr. Schaub?
Yes.
All right, so one last thing, Mr. Schaub. In relation to congressional oversight that we have, the limits that are placed on me as a congresswoman, compared to the executive branch and compared to, say, the President of the United States, would you say that Congress has the same sort of standard of accountability? Is there more teeth in that regulation in Congress on the president, or would you say it's about even, or more so on the federal?
In terms of laws that apply to the president, yeah, there's just almost no laws at all that apply to the president.
So I'm being held, and every person in this body is being held to a higher ethical standard than the President of the United States.
That's right, because there are some ethics committee rules that apply to you.
And it's already super legal, as we've seen, for me to be a pretty bad guy. So it's even easier for the President of the United States to be one, I would assume.
That's right.
Thank you very much.
That was absolutely fantastic. I think that what she's doing here in shedding light on this issue, it's important because how many people actually know that the system is this fundamentally broken? I doubt that many people know the specifics. I mean, people generally have this vague idea, according to public opinion polls, that money is an issue in American politics. There's too much money, millionaires and billionaires have too much influence, and we need to do what we can to curtail that influence. But I don't think people know just how nauseating the system is when you look at it. It seems as if nobody in Washington, D.C. is concerned about addressing this issue because they all are going to benefit from it, because when they leave Congress, they're going to be a lobbyist. We've seen this time and again. We have John Boehner, who went on to become a lobbyist for the legal pot industry, and then we have Minion Clyburn, who was just part of the FCC, gave a phenomenal speech in support of net neutrality, now becoming a lobbyist for T-Mobile. So you have this revolving door where the people are now working for the industries that they oversaw. So there's two questions that I want to address. First of all is, why is it this way? Why is there so much money in politics? Well, the first reason why that's the case is because of Supreme Court decisions dating back to Buckley v. Vallejo and leading up to Citizens United in 2010 and then McCutcheon in 2014. We allowed for unlimited sums of money to get into politics so that way these large multinational corporations can essentially buy off the politicians, get them elected, and then have them do their bidding. Now, when you look at these local elections, these House races, 9 times out of 10, studies show that the candidate with the most money is the one who has the best chance at getting elected. Hence why, when we put up so many grassroots progressives against establishment Democrats, not only did they lose because of a lack of name recognition, but they lost because most people just aren't as engaged as you and I in politics. So they will go with who they see on television. And whoever can run the most ads is usually the one who's going to get elected, i.e. the person with the most money. So that is why this is happening. That was kind of the start. Money in politics has always been an issue in America, but really the floodgates were opened in 2010 with Citizens United. Now another question is, how can a political system, in spite of Citizens United, become this corrupted? How are there not fail-safes that stop this from happening? Well, look, even if there are fail-safes, we live in a capitalist system. And what capitalism does is, like a virus, it infects all aspects of the country. And it starts eating away at democracy, slowly but surely, to where democracy is literally no longer existing in this country. We live in an oligarchy. When you look at policy outcomes and you weigh out who supports which policy outcomes, well, American citizens, just normal people, they have a statistically insignificant impact on policy outcomes. Special interests, elites, they have an actual influence on policy outcomes. So what capitalism has done is it's paved the way for decisions like Citizens United, which has then corrupted our entire system. So capitalism and democracy, they just can't exist simultaneously. They're fundamentally incompatible. We saw this firsthand, how capitalism, moneyed interests, like a virus, spread, and they actually are eating away at democracy before our very eyes now. Things we care about, like ending the wars, well, we don't have a say because the military-industrial complex has profits to be made, and their puppets in Congress aren't going to interfere with that. Net neutrality, 80 to 90% of the American public didn't want net neutrality repealed, but because there are puppets in the FCC, a former employee of Verizon, their legal counsel, well, we didn't get what we wanted there. So what AOC, getting back to the original point of this video, was her concise explanation of just how fundamentally broken the system is. She is shedding light on something that people don't know about. They're just not well versed in this. And it's really important to have people in Congress who are allies who are willing to speak on this, because there really hasn't been many people, besides Bernie Sanders, who are willing to talk about this because they're all bought off. They all have a vested interest to shut up, to keep quiet about this. But AOC doesn't take corporate money. She's funded by the grassroots, and you can see how that affects her because she is exclusively governing in a way that represents the people. So the system is broken, and we need fundamental reform, and gradualism of any kind just simply, it won't stop or undo really what's been done to our system, what capitalism has done to our system and our democratic institutions and democratic processes. So what AOC is doing here is just incredibly important, and I really hope that she continues to raise awareness about this issue because people need to know about corruption and just how prevalent it is in America.
Mike is a total loser, so don't hit the subscribe button, okay? And whatever you do, folks, do not hit the notification bell either. Mike treats me so unfairly.